So Mickey, in the book, you introduced a concept of a cycle of value, that this isn't just a one-time event, that this is part of a connected series of interactions that either create value or waste. Could you talk a little bit more about the cycle of value and the individual components?
We have worked with around 400 organizations around the world, and as I mentioned earlier, 90 countries. We've seen some things from looking at the challenging initiatives across these companies, which is really what the Communication Catalyst is based on. And that is that where people tend to produce better results than they anticipated, there's a rhythm to their work. And that rhythm is align, act, adjust. Align as in finding something that we care about together. We say the source of teamwork is a common future. There's got to be something we care about that's not in this moment, it's in a later moment, if these people are going to align and coordinate. We say to be really good at the align portion of the cycle of value, you have to be great at surfacing, learning from, and resolving conflicts. And now that can be true in our personal relationships, our professional relationships. Wherever there are differences, alignment is at risk.
This is a distinct difference from just compromise or acquiescence.
Absolutely. Alignment is where people find something in common that they freely and mutually support. For me, often what people mean by compromise is let's water down what we're talking about until it gets to where nobody can disagree. That's not powerful. We don't think that's alignment. That's putting up with and avoiding our most fundamental differences because we're not very good at finding an intersection between your situation and mine. So once people do that, if they're really good at surfacing, learning from, resolving conflicts, they've got points of alignment that they have confidence in. Well, then you want to act, you want to do something. So the act part of the cycle is about who's accountable for what, expectations, management and execution of commitments. If you take that on before there's real foundation of alignment, managing commitments feels spiritually barren. It feels mechanical. So the foundation of alignment is absolutely crucial to have the coordination of commitments be something that's inspiriting, interesting, exciting for people, fueled by, yes, let's go get this done. And then adjust is because being in action teaches us things that we never otherwise would have known. So we say align deeply, act quickly, adjust often. When we're working with people, that the flow of align deeply is in step over no relevant conflict. Act quickly. As soon as there's something we do align about, hey, let's make a difference, and adjust often. Because action will teach us things that we can learn in no other way. Now that same rhythm, as we work with people all over the world in these companies, they began coming up to us on breaks and said, you know, this is applying to my relationship with my husband. Oh, this is really going to help me with something with my parents. Oh, this is incredible with my kids. And we started noticing, you know, I think these distinctions apply across boundaries. And as we were in this flow about our children earlier, I can tell you that anytime things are not working well in my relationship with my children, there's not a point of alignment that we mutually respect that we're acting on. Instead, I'm trying to get them to be how I want them to be without bothering with having to connect with what's true for them. So that's that rhythm of align, act, adjust. And we find that it works in massive projects like the HP Compaq merger, and it works being at lunch with my daughter.
And these cycles perpetuate, don't they? They build one into another?
If you actually adjust well, so we said adjust often, if the adjustment actually creates learning, people tend to strengthen their relationships, and then you get into another cycle. In fact, in the book we talk about that cycle ascending over time, and the amount of value that gets produced per unit of time, money, and stress goes way up. So it takes less time and effort to produce more volume if you stay in cycles of value, if you stay in align, act, adjust. Now, we have not found anyone that stays there all the time because there is a competing cycle. One of our colleagues calls it the evil twin to the cycle of value, which is the cycle of waste. And the cycle of waste starts the exact same place as the cycle of value does, which is in the presence of differences. Sometimes conflict, sometimes just differences like between a man and a woman, between person in one department of a company in another department. In the presence of differences, you can either find some point of alignment to do something about together, or in the presence of that difference, I make my first move to tell you, actually, Jim, you're wrong. And if you make the first reaction to difference, criticism, telling somebody they're wrong, it triggers something that we may talk about a little later in brain function that has people get defensive. They're less able to hear the next thing you say. So we say if I greet difference with disagreement, I'm going to start a cycle of ways. It doesn't mean we don't want to surface our disagreements. We do. We just don't want the first response to a difference to be, you're wrong. And if anybody who's watching this or listening to it, if you can think of the last time somebody did some way of conveying to you, you're wrong, notice what happens in your body. Because our brains actually get our bodies to get ready to defend in that moment, which then destroys a chance to be smarter together than separately and definitely weakens relationship. That cycle of value of disagree, defend, destroy also repeats itself. And you can see extraordinary examples in companies and in families of destruction that came from people not able to effectively find some point of connection in the presence of difference. And then that perpetuates, and you see companies get into enormous trouble where it really affects their P&L, balance sheet, cash flow. And the same thing happens in our personal relationships. A lot of that destruction of value, personally and professionally, is completely unnecessary.